Welcome to the love-infused ravings of Bach. Deepest trust. What we're looking for is always the same. So you don't need for conditions to be different than they are now. You're not getting further or closer away by doing anything. So it's just to recognize that now, You're you now. Of course. And you ask yourself, that question, what is this thing I've always known about myself? And however we phrase it to ourselves can hold so much of the power, that kind of self-inquiry that's discovered. And it's like a little gift we've been given, and we use it as long as it has power. And then maybe we hear another one that excites us more and we move on. And who am I without thought? Try to connect with that sense of being ageless, that sense of yourself that you're like, oh yeah. Yeah, when someone asks you how old you are, I'm 61. Like, but can you connect with that feeling in you that's always felt the same, that feels ageless? You might say, yeah, I'm 61, but I feel like a teenager. And that's not about the body generally. It's just that true nature, that knowing of ourselves is ageless. And if you really feel into it, that's your deepest sense of yourself. And then you begin to let go of the notion that there are two. Like I know something, or I am someone. And you can think about it, it's life happening. Of course it's one. Of course it's one thing. I don't know if I trust anyone that says they understand it. But I can sure tell when someone has tasted it, That creates a lot of ease in a relationship. It's not like some kind of witchcraft. It's just the freer we are in ourselves, the freer a relationship will be. I think as a general rule, I mean, how are we going to test it anyway? It's just we have a sense, right, when we think about things deeply. And so if two people are in a relationship and both of them are freer than most, that relationship will feel even freer, I think, in general. Get through things quickly, can ask quickly, has something happened between us? And we could talk, and it's done. Or I'm getting a weird vibe. Not very often, but when it does, we can just come right out and say it and work through something immediately, and it doesn't start turning into these twisted, complicated stories. For what? So we can blame others for our unhappiness, because we don't know what to do sometimes. When that recognition that there's just now, it obliterates everything. It obliterates every story. And again, it's just now. I'm not talking about permanent or time-based. I'm just talking about now. Letting go. It's even too much to say letting go into presence. Just letting go. That's where you'll end up, is present, as presence. Letting go obliterates all stories. for however long, you know. They may rise again, but that's not our concern. If that's our concern, that's another story, right? If we are lucky enough to be obliterated into presence, just see how tricky it is to stay free. That's such a clear magnifying glass when we're present. So we're present, and plant medicines deliver this in spades, can make you so present that you see things more clearly about your life. Allows you to see other perspectives, other people's perspectives in your imagination, beliefs you have about yourself that we project onto others. Oh, they wonder if they think this about me, as you actually think about you to one degree or another. Again, not good or bad. It's such a relief to take responsibility at some point, and I suppose that comes in waves, and maybe it comes in different areas of our life, and maybe at some point understanding that it's your responsibility to be free. No one else can really think about it, right? It's a very complex project, and we definitely get help. I mean, what a lovely thing. There's lots of help, right? But it's our journey. Of course, we live it. We're so intimate. It's our lives. So no one knows us like that. And I think both with a plant medicine and a therapist, a good teacher of any sort, is able to point things out in us that we were blind to, we were ignorant of. But with love, you know, they reflect something back at a sort of clearer, higher vibe. If we're with a good teacher and a good plant medicine, they stay quiet while we find our way out of this belief system and lending whatever is required. The freer the practitioner, the more intuitive, I imagine they would be, and can rely on the vibe of the scene, you know, the actual vibration of the scene. We all know it has a vibe to it. It's got that kind of like, oh, I need to complain or they need to complain, and it becomes a habit. And in some way, it's just so much easier, you know. It's so painful, so painful. But we can just kind of fall into them and get lost in them, and they're not much work, really, because we know them so well. And because we put so much attention to it, it has a lot of energy. So when we talk about it, we're actually coming alive, you know? It's like we're excited about something, even though it's quote unquote dysfunctional. But I don't think anyone wants to be lost in mind, you know? I've never had anyone give me that answer that they'd prefer to just be lost in their mind. But people are like, what's the alternative? And we're told, put it in the body, but that's problematic. Only because we want to afford our deepest trust to that which is always so. We want to know every time we come back, it's here. Every time. What greater trust can be built than that?